In the podcast this month, we talk about our trip down to DC for Anime USA. Then it's time for our annual year in review. Plus, we look back at our favorite podcast moments. And our last news segment before we change it up for the podcast for Season 3. I'm Elizabeth, and this is the AnimeCons.com podcast for December 2010.
Wonderful holiday, but it's hard when the excitement it builds up so much. I just got to have it all. I want more stuff. Why can't this be every day? Take your tinsel and throw it away. Feels like a bust away and it's okay. What can I do to make it last?
Here are this month's announcements from anime conventions. In Canada, Icon is looking for a new design for Aiko, the Icon mascot, for use on the convention's promotional materials and merchandise. They are holding the contest now through January 22nd to select a design. In the Midwest, A&G Ohio has announced that Wendy Lee will be attending as a guest. EvilCon has announced guests Serafina, Shane Moore, Pika Bellichu, Satoshi, and Sarah Hoskins. QC Anime Zing has announced that Robert Axelrod will be returning to the convention next June. Also, Bishikon has announced Dream Spinner Press, Amelia Belcher, and Warky T. Chocobo as guests. In the Northeast, Zenkai-Con has announced a guest performance by Gelatine and Rose Noir at their convention in March. Down South, Paraycon has announced for July 10th and 11th in Lakeland, Florida, with Aaron Dismuke and Atrix Entertainment as guests. Out West, SakuraCon has announced Exits Trance, Christopher Bevins, Tiffany Grant, and Clarine Harp as guests. TaiYuCon in Mesa has announced Chris Kaysen, Katsune Robot, Perfect Math Class, and Tristan Citrine will be attending as guests. MEW Convention has announced musical guests Trixie Pixie and industry guests from Cell Styles Design and Demo Team. For more announcements and updates from conventions, please visit us at AnimeCons.com.
So Doug and Patrick D and I went to Anime USA down in Arlington, Virginia, right near Reagan Airport in Crystal City at the Hyatt in Crystal City, and pretty much took over the whole hotel for an entire weekend. It was pretty cool. I like it when it's just like the only event in the hotel and you don't have to deal with many other people, especially when it's in kind of its own area. Crystal City has, a lot of hotels in the area, restaurants, things like that, so you don't have as many passersby as one that's like in the middle of a city like Anime Boston or Otakon. So it was cool. It felt like a little secure nerd haven for the weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, none of us had ever actually been to Anime USA before.
Patrick D had.
Okay. Well, you and I had not been to Anime USA before, and I have to say, it really surprised me. It was a really fun con. Like, there was fun panels. There was some really neat ones going on. And it's interesting. It's been around for a couple years, but
more than a couple. It's been around for a while.
And yet, it never feels like it's grown too big for its own good. A lot of it is they keep themselves at the right size. They found a size that seems to work for them, and they've leveled off pretty nicely.
Yeah, I think they used their space well. It still felt a little crowded in a lot of places like the lobby and things like that where people try and get together. And one problem was in the lobby they had a bar area and they had a lot of chairs and stuff, but after 3 o'clock, unless you were paying for food or drink, you weren't allowed to sit there. So people ended up in high traffic areas. Luckily, it was gorgeous weather out the entire weekend. It was like September and November. It was great. Go outside, get some really nice cosplay pictures taken, and be able to expand outside. And that was a really nice surprise to have for the weekend. I didn't have a coat with me. It was great.
Yep. So what was some of the stuff that you really liked that you did?
Nothing really stood out as being extra special. They had a lot of AMV showings, which was cool. A lot of times they'll just show the contest and whoever entered the contest and overflow. But then they had a room where they were just seemed to be showing AMVs the whole time, and they showed a lot of fan favorites, a lot of classic videos, and that was a really cool thing to see because I like watching AMVs when I'm bored. And Masquerade was a little disappointing. They only had 12 entries, but some of them were pretty good. And it's pretty good costumes, and the Artist Alley I thought was really good too.
Yeah, the Artist Alley was actually kind of in the center of the hotel. The hotel's kind of centered around this big forum, and the lower levels you go around and you keep seeing. So you get a really good chance to see Artist Alley. One of the things I'm always worried about whenever I go to a convention is that I'm going to miss going through Artist Alley because it's in a back corner or something. But no, this time it's right in the heart of things, but at the same time you don't feel like you can't get away from it. You just it's kind of on the lanes.
On the way to things.
Yeah, I mean, traffic generally was pretty good. I mean, the dealer's room was set up that it was easy one-way traffic. You didn't have to worry about weaving back and forth to make sure you saw all the vendors.
Yeah, Patrick D and I were looking at the program guide the night before, and we saw that. We're like, oh, that could be interesting. It could have been either really bad, but it wasn't. It really worked. It kept everybody going. It was never too crowded, and a lot of good selection of merchandise, I thought.
Yeah.
Nothing incredibly out of the ordinary, usual convention fare, but it seemed like every vendor had something different.
Yeah, and lastly, just talking about programming, I got to try out a new panel, which was a lot of fun. I got to give it to the staff. They gave they brought their A game. I needed my room reset because the other group before me needed the entire floor space, and within 5 minutes of me arriving and the other panel ending, I had my full setup ready to go, and just running that panel was really great. I got a chance to talk with a lot of fans, and I wish I could have had more chance to get more information from them and talk to them, so they should probably go on the forums and talk to us more. And yeah, just it was a good year for conventions, but I mean, especially Anime USA, where it's in November, towards the end of the year, there's not many conventions still happening. It was a good way to just kind of close out the year.
So yeah, if you have a chance, check out Anime USA in Arlington. You won't be disappointed.
I'm definitely going to try and make it back. How about you?
If I have the time off and money, let's hope so.
I liked it too.
No one cares.
Do you want to watch over 250 anime and drama titles with thousands of episodes, all properly and legally licensed to support the actual creators? Shows that are English subtitled or even dubbed. Maybe you want same-day access to many anime titles currently airing in Japan. How about stuff in 720p on select titles and DVD quality 480p on most titles? Or even classic stuff like Captain Harlock? How about no advertisements that you won't see any ads except for a homepage sponsorship? Well, guess what? Crunchyroll does that. All these titles are absolutely available immediately. Normal users may be subject to special restricted release, but if you sign up and only $6 a month for an anime membership, it's less than I pay for my coffee every week. You get tons and tons of anime. You can watch it all over the place on your own home computer, but maybe you're someone who's on the go. You can even watch stuff on an iPad or on a TV with a Boxy app. If you want to try a free trial of Crunchyroll, go to crunchyroll.animecons.com.
So last year we had a lot of fun reliving 2009, so now we're going to do our year in review of 2010. Our first topic is best moments of conventions we attended, and Rob, you want to go first?
Sure. My best moment was getting the nickname Captain Tight Pants, because I was dressed up as Mal Reynolds and ripped my pants exactly like Nathan Fillion. And Jules State really liked that and signed that on my autograph.
I think one of my favorite moments would have to be at Dragon Con during the NSFW panel when I was dressed as Horseboy. And they made a comment, now they're going to start making out. So I figured, all right. So there's an alien xenomorph cosplayer and Horseboy, and yeah.
Oh, no. They're gonna start making out, aren't they?
This is strangely erotic! Oh no! goodness.
Oh, yeah. That was fun, and I kind of have a reputation for that now.
Yeah, you're famous as Horse Boy. My favorite moment was probably doing Anime Unscripted with Sketch, Bill Rogers, and Michelle Knotts. And I totally pulled the question game and nobody else got to go.
I even commented on that.
One of my favorite moments was I started going to Araceli and getting commissions of my favorite Pokemon, Wartortle. And one of the commissions I got was Wartortle as God in a parody of Birth of Man.
My best moment was when I had my massive fangirl moment when Nobuo Uematsu was a guest at Anime Boston and I saw him perform with the Video Games Orchestra. Yeah, she was there. She saw me crying.
She cried.
I cried.
She cried a lot.
Because I've been a fan of his forever, since I started playing Final Fantasy like in 90 whatever. So
You might remember
I
she
have
pushed me out of the way for the
thousands
podcast.
of Final Fantasy songs on my iPod. Yeah, died. I died.
Leading off our news stories is this month is the first appearance of the Final Fantasy composer. Oh, Jesus!
No, I get to announce this.
Ow!
Leading off our news stories this month is the first appearance by Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu at a North American anime convention. Anime Boston, thank God, has announced Mr. Uematsu as a guest of honor. So next topic is worst moments. At Otakon on Sunday, I couldn't get an elevator because we're on the 7th floor, which is like in the mid, like just too high to take the stairs, but low enough so every other floor comes down and then it's full. So we waited like a good half an hour. Waited. Finally, I called for a cart, and the very nice hotel employee took me down the service elevator, and I was able to go back to the con.
I had my backpack and I was staying at a different hotel that night. I went from that hotel to the other hotel, checked in, dropped my bags, and was headed back to the convention center by the time I got your text that you had.
Sucked.
My worst moment was probably New York Comic Con on Saturday. Just way too many people and not enough good programming.
My worst was definitely before Dragon Con. I stayed up pretty much all night working on our Candyland costumes. And we get on the airplane to go down to Atlanta, and I'm like, oh great, 2 hours, I'll sleep, it'll be fine. Except he's on one side, I'm in the middle, and then I have this girl that won't stop talking to me the entire time, even though I have my iPod earbuds in, my sunglasses on, my head on his shoulder, and when she said, do you think you're going to sleep? I said, yes, I'm going to sleep the whole way down now. But she still kept talking.
To interject my worst moments, the fact that she fell asleep when I went like this.
And woke me up.
That was scary.
My worst would have to be at the Masquerade at another Anime Con. It was probably one of the worst organized masquerades in terms of the technical, the sound. They didn't have the right stuff. I felt so sorry for the people entering that, because there was one skit that had to come up 3 times before they finally got the right music.
That's not good.
No, it was terrible.
So what are conventions doing right that we've seen so far this year?
Other than Dragon Con, a lot of Reg Lines and a lot of cons were pretty good and decent. They got their act together. There was a problem like that I've noticed, someone having a problem, they were doing well. But Dragon Con, oh my lord, worst Reg Line I've ever been in.
I like how a lot of them are doing more panels that are on topics that aren't so much gushing. It's actual informative topics that you can sink your teeth into. Stuff you can actually come away learning something and feeling better.
I like that a lot of cons are kind of expanding their programming. For a while it seemed like no matter where you went, you always had, the chess game and the dating game and the masquerade and then, with some voice actor panels. But it seems like some of them, especially in the last year, are starting to branch out from that, like having the video game orchestra, and it's nice to see some different things.
Variety.
Yeah, and just on that same note, I think a lot of the more kind of experienced conventions are keeping their feet on the ground, and they're not just looking for sheer numbers. They're instead of the size, they're saying, okay, let's slow down growth and make this the best con for the people that are coming, and work with the numbers they have instead of just getting as many people in the door as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of cons are having good guest lineups, especially tying guests up with stuff that's coming out. Like Otakon had the big Hitalia thing with the Hitalia premiere. They had almost the entire Hitalia cast. And I've seen a lot of other conventions do that as well, where a new title will be coming out and they'll have a bunch of the voice actors there to not only be there for the attendees, but also kind of promote it, and I think that's a really cool thing to see. What are conventions doing wrong? One thing I would like to see conventions do more of that they don't do enough of is creating areas for people just to hang out. Because I know one of the things I like to do when I go to anime conventions is hang out with my friends, because there's some friends I don't see unless I'm at an anime convention, and you don't want to hang out in a high traffic area and cause a lot of problems for people trying to get from point A to point B. A lot of younger attendees don't seem to realize you're in the way, get out of the way.
Yeah, I think one of the other things conventions need to look for more is to find that balance between catering to both new fans, people that are just starting to go to conventions, really finding anime, and old fans who they've been into stuff for years. I mean, this was my 10th year going to conventions, so I've seen quite a few, and it's something that you have to find a balance for both of them.
I think the cons that succeed are the ones that listen to feedback from the attendees and improve, like Dragon Con's line, they're redoing the registration, but the ones that they aren't working are the ones that are not listening to the feedback.
You stole my answer.
Oh, sorry!
Exactly what I was going to
Because
say.
like I was going to say, another anime con's a bad one. It keeps getting worse because
Yeah.
they completely
New
make
York
the same
Comic-Con.
mistakes. New York Comic Con was one you were complaining about. It's just when they don't listen to what you have to say, you just don't feel like they care.
Let's go to the next one.
Resolutions, mine is to help Patrick Dean with editing. So
Yay!
and to have at least one Anime Cons event, either a panel and or a meetup at every convention I attend, which will be a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to go to at least one new convention or one that I haven't been to in a few years and get better at cosplay photography. I've really gotten into that.
Mine is to make fewer costumes.
Yeah, right.
Mine, I want to actually revamp the site, like I've been saying I want to for a while, so hopefully if workload can go down. And to do more meetups. That was fun.
What I hope to do is actually document more of the stuff that I do to help with footage for the show. Because I've always said, I'll do like how-tos and whatnot. I'll actually sit down and do those.
So our last segment is superlatives. Trophy. So my superlative is best guest. Of course, it's kind of biased, but I really think he was probably the biggest grab this year was Nobuo Uematsu at Anime Boston, because Final Fantasy has been around forever and his work is fantastic. And if you haven't heard it arranged outside of the actual game, especially the older stuff, you're really missing.
I think it was also his first time in the U.S. too.
Well, for a con,
Yeah.
I'm giving my award to Best Bang for Your Buck, Otakon. It's pretty easy to get there travel-wise if you plot accordingly. You can get good rates on hotel and lots of options for food that's not too expensive, but you get a very good con.
I'm giving mine the most improved con that I've been to was Kineticon this year. It was the first time I wasn't bored. They've actually, fulfilling their multi-genre aspects, and they win the award for Best Post-Con Dinner at City Steam because they have the best mac and cheese ever.
Our other sponsor this month is Right Stuff. Now, we've talked about Right Stuff before and what amazing deals they have. And if you haven't used them, really give them a try for this holiday season. If you have a friend who loves anime, this is a great place to get them some great gifts and save money. They have daily deals every day, weekly specials that come out every Thursday. There's a bargain bin, and they have closeout items, so you can get stuff, really good stuff, really cheap. And you can get DVDs, Blu-rays, manga, music, model kits, wall scrolls, toys, keychains, backpacks, hats, and tons more. It's really like a dealer's room, but it's online. So you don't have to deal with the overcrowding and the smelly people. And it's where Doug gets all his hentai.
Hey, that was supposed to be a secret!
So to get some great deals on DVDs and support our podcast, go to trsi.animecons.com.
So probably my favorite moment for this year was getting a fan letter from someone who I ran into Otakon, and just seeing the great, hilarious response they sent me, and then Jess's reaction to it. That was one of the highlights. It made me laugh. I mean, I think all of us, we laugh hardest when we laugh at ourselves.
I think my favorite moment, even though it's getting a little old, was the double scoop ice cream Doug and I found at Otakon. So if you haven't been to Otakon, what they do during the day and at night is there's just ice cream truck after ice cream truck in front of it. It's really cool because I really like ice cream trucks. And one of them has a double scoop of ice cream, which is pretty cool. And of course, this is during the double rainbow when it was like everywhere. So we're like, double scoop of ice cream. What does it mean? So that was my favorite moment of the podcast.
Well, my favorite moment doing this podcast this year is when we're doing our live shows, and particularly the first one. It was very fun being very interactive with our 15 viewers. But the best part was I was like, text me if you want me to punch Doug. And anyone who didn't have my number asked, what's your number? I want to text. And if not, my phone is going, and I punched him.
I think my favorite moment from the podcast this past year was when we did our April Fool's episode. We did that about a month in advance and all dressed up in 80s clothes, and I got to promote Laserdiscs. They're here to stay.
My favorite moment is actually doing the Versus segment between Anime Next and PortCon Maine. It was really fun interviewing all the attendees, especially because Elizabeth and I went out and interviewed people right after the rave, so everyone was really wasted. So we got some of the best answers, and I especially liked asking everyone if they knew Patrick D.
Living on this starship is a constant holiday. Let's go have some fun this year, go somewhere new to play. We'll never get the blues, let's drink all the Martian booze. Baby, let's spend Christmas here on Mars. Oh, baby, let's spend Christmas here on Mars. Yeah, we'll party with the little green men around the galaxy. The satellites will hear our screams from sea to lunar sea. On Earth they'll hear the news, they'll all start dancing too. Baby, let's spend Christmas here on Mars. Oh, come on now, baby, let's spend Christmas here on Mars.
Find our forum or subscribe to the podcast on our site at animecons.com. If you're a social butterfly, you should follow us at twitter.com/animecons or facebook.com/animecons. We want to hear about your favorite moments of 2010. Call and leave us a voicemail at 762-ADEQUATE. That's 762-233-7828. Keep it under 30 seconds and we might use it on the next episode. Next month, we'll be changing things up for season 3, so be sure you subscribe in iTunes. The end.